Hello, this is Watch All About with another watch review, and here we're looking at a reasonably new brand called MAEN, and they have one watch available at the moment, but in a variety of colourways. That is called the Classic Moonphase. So having a watch named the Classic, it's not the most exciting name, but the watch itself is pretty nice, and it has a lot to offer for the price. So it will cost you well, the RRP is €249, but currently you can have it for €199. It comes in three different colours, so this is the Frost White edition, so that's the dial. You can have it in like a charcoaly grey and also a blue dial as well, and you have a choice of straps. So I've got the blue strap here, which is a very nice colour. Okay, so obviously the main feature behind it is the fact that it's a moon phase. So the movement behind this watch, it is a quartz watch, but it is a Swiss made movement. So it's a Ronda, and the caliber is a 706.B movement. So I mean it's a Swiss made quartz, so it's pretty reliable. It's never gonna really go wrong. Battery life has got a good few years on it as well. So I think that goes towards the entire quality of the watch to know that you have a Swiss made movement behind it, so that's good. Let's talk about the size then. So it is a very nice so I've got a 7.25 inch wrist for reference. So this is 38mm in diameter. It has a very low profile, so that's about just over 7mm in height, and then it has a lug to lug length of 45.5mm. So on my wrist, just 7.25 inches, it fits really nicely. It's a very good size for a dress watch. It's very lightweight as well. It's only 50 grams in weight, so you can really wear it all day long, and you're not really gonna notice it or have any issues with it. It's very comfortable because of the size and the weight, so they work well together. The strap itself is 18mm in diameter, and that reduces down to 16mm at the buckle. So again, it's quite quaint. Also, it's worth noting that I mean, I've not got a gigantic wrist, but I'm on the 5th hole, and then there is only 3 more holes after mine. So if you have anything over like an 8-inch wrist, this probably wouldn't be a suitable choice unless you were to have more holes punched in. Okay, so carrying on with the specs, we have a sapphire crystal, which is good. Feels good to the touch as well, gives a nice decent thud. It has very good anti-reflective properties as well, actually. I think in this case, the Frost White, a white dial always displays less reflections anyway. So in this instance, it does look very clear to the eye. You get excellent visibility at pretty much any angle, so it's pretty impressive for that. It has a 50 meters water resistance rating as well, and finally a 2-year warranty. So that's all the specs talked about. Let's just go through it piece by piece. So starting off with the dial, it's quite simple. I don't like using the word minimalist, but that's obviously the way they're going towards with this watch, because it's got like those classic pitched straight hands with a slight point at the end. We have applied hour markers as well, which is a nice touch because they're quite thick and nicely applied as well, and they are all polished just like the hands to give you a nice bit of reflection when the light hits it right. So the main star of the show really is, although it's quite small, your eyes are drawn towards it, and that's the moon phase indicator in the bottom half here. So this is the stock disc that's on the Ronda movement, and obviously it just rotates with the moon as it goes around. So just we can, I just set, I believe that the only way to set the moon on this, unfortunately, is to advance the date. It is to advance the day. So to set the moon, obviously it's quartz, so you only have to worry about it once. To set it, you're going to have to do a lot of winding. But the like the border around the indicator itself is very nicely done. Has a little sort of inset step to it. So you know, for a watch costing this much, the dial is very well put together and nicely manufactured. Moving on to the case then, we have a polished bezel which works well with the polished elements on the dial. We have a brushed side, so that introduces a bit of a difference there, a bit of contrast between the bezel and the case back, which is also polished. Looking at the small crown, it has an M embossed on the end, so that's quite nicely done. Sometimes, you know, for a watch costing around this price, you probably wouldn't be blessed with with a signed crown, so that's nice to see. Case back, if I just give it a quick wipe. Case back is fully polished, but it has a very pleasant little pattern on engraved on it, and then we have some details engraved as well. So this is nicely done. It's fixed in with 6 screws as well. Now we see that it says Swiss movement there. So the case and the dial itself, I mean, for a watch costing less than £200, it's actually really nicely finished. It's very comfortable on the wrist as well because of the lightweight. I think thanks mainly to the quartz movement. So let's move on to the strap. We have it signed on the underside, very soft underside. We have good stitching as well. So this is the blue one, as I mentioned earlier. It's like quite a dark blue, which is nice. It's not, you know, it's not too brash or harsh on the eyes. So it very subtly lines up well with the Moonphase indicator. So I mean, it's quite thin, 18mm, tapering down to 16mm. So and the holes start quite high and don't go too far either. But it's very well put together. It's very supple as well, as you can see. I mean, I haven't worn it a gigantic amount, and already it feels like it's, you know, it's been broken in. So that's an excellent point to make, actually. That you know, usually on watches costing less than a couple of £100, you get a slightly less good quality leather strap, but on this one, it's proven to be nice and comfortable, which is good. So we have 2 keeper loops on this end, and then we have our buckle as well. So classic tang buckle, and we have the main. If I can show you it in amongst all the reflections, it's a polished buckle with the main logo very deeply engraved on it, which is a good touch as well. So it's quite a nice fat buckle, which actually works quite well on quite a, you know, such a thin strap, as you can see there. Okay, so let me get the macro lens out and we'll just have a quick look at it in closer detail. Okay, so starting with the dial. So there's the main logo printed on the frost white base. As you can see, the printing is actually really smart and crisp. So here we have our hour markers, our batons as well, so they're polished, very nicely applied as well, then a printed minute tracker on the outside. Moving on to our pitched hands. Again, very nicely finished and manufactured. So that works nice. They work nicely together. And then we have our Moonphase indicator. So the bordering of this indicator is nicely done, as you can see, very smooth. No real issues there with any marks. And the moon disc as well is very nicely done. As I said before, it's a stock Ronda one. Moving on to the case then, here's our brushed sides, nice and uniform. And then if I just give it a quick wipe from my fingerprints, have a look at this polished bezel. And the top of the lugs, as you can see here, They're also polished. And then we have our crown with our M embossed on the end. Moving on to the case back. MAEN. As you can see, they're very deeply engraved, and then this pattern and these details around the side also very deeply engraved on this polished MAEN section of the case back. So the case back, despite being quite simple, is actually really nicely done, and you know, pleasant to the eye as well. And then just moving on to the strap. So we go, you can see our blue stitching on the blue top. And on the underside we have MAEN printed. So here's our keeper loops. And then we have deeply engraved MAEN logo on the buckle as well. Okay, so I don't come across Moonphase watches too often. For me personally, I would never use it, but it is a nice little feature to have. You know, it's a visually, it's a nice little dial to have on a watch. Not that I ever would set it necessarily or actually pay any attention to it. It's just like an extra level of complexity, and you know, something that your eye naturally draws towards anyway. Obviously, there are many of you out there who are particularly interested in this kind of thing, so this is a very good, high quality but affordable option with a Swiss-made movement as well. I think with it being quartz, it's a more viable option than a mechanical watch, unless you're guaranteed to wear it every day. Because if you set a mechanical watch and then you forget, you know, and it winds down eventually, you got all the pain of resetting the Moonphase indicator. But with quartz, at least it's a set and forget, if you know what I mean. So yeah, it's very nicely finished, very comfortable to wear. Design wise, it looks the part as well. So I think it's an excellent watch for under £200. So this was the MAEN Classic Moonphase, and that's what it's all about.